What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Serious Angler podcast. It is Friday morning, and we are Baileyless, but we are hanging out with the cast crew, and we're going to be talking about their experience in New York and fishing the Outer Realm. How is everyone?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So now that you boys are back down south and Joe is in PA, how are you all feeling about your experience up here in the northern lands?
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was an awesome time, especially seeing both of you guys, man. First off, I want to thank both of you for your hospitality and just getting us out on these amazing bodies of water. I truly enjoyed it. And Joe, I can't thank you enough, brother. I'm probably going to thank you 50 more times. I mean, that was an experience of a lifetime for me. And all the driving, everything you did to arrange that, dude, that's a big deal to me. I don't take that lightly, and I really appreciate that. But no, it was a hell of a trip. Hell of a trip, guys.
So we could call Joe LaBarbera like Joe LaBarbera's chauffeur service. He drives you around.
Uber, fishing guide. Great. Like if you're not on a diet, he'll take you to the spot.
So what you're saying is Joe LaBarbera, jack of all trades, chauffeur, fast food junkie, and guaranteed to blow your diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the bathroom. Yeah.
Fair enough. And the bathroom. I see where we're going already.
The good news is, like, if you come and stay at, like, Casa de la Tackle Heaven, there are 3 poopers, as the boys found out when they hung at the crib. So, we were all able to get away from each other in the morning.
And he's got Charmin. He's got the Charmin 3-ply.
Oh, man.
There. It's super ultra soft, man. Like he'll take care of his guests. I don't know if he just did that for us because TP's expensive, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll say he did it just for you guys.
Sam's Club, dude. Come on.
Love it. So, but anyways, welcome to the show, guys. I know, Ryan, you have been on the business from the bass boat segment talking about the cast side. But Clint, this is your first time, and everybody knows Joe at this point. Like he's been on a few times here. So it's great to have you guys here. But before we get too far in talking about your northern outer realm experience, Ryan, first, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are down there?
Okay, my name is Ryan Hanks. I'm co-owner of Cast Fishing. I own Cast with my business partners in Australia, Mick Guthrie and Ben Jones. And just to tell you really quick about our company, I learned about these guys a few years back and saw what they were doing saltwater fishing. And we've worked together to basically blur the lines and bring those techniques and that style of fishing to freshwater. And it's been very exciting. It's something really refreshing, and we're really stoked about what we're creating over here.
Yeah, that is awesome. And now, Clint, how about you?
So I'm a videographer. I started my own business just a few months ago, but I've been in the industry for about 5 years with a little help from Ryan Hanks to get that motivation to actually start the official Bartlett Outdoors LLC. So that's been an awesome journey. It's not easy, but I studied in college entrepreneurship and marketing, and I actually used my degree. So here I am. But I'm doing what I love every single day. And that's the biggest thing is if you're not living life to the fullest and doing what you love, then you're not making it. It's not about the income at the end of the day. It's about the experience. And so that's why I'm here.
We only get one life, so we might as well take advantage of it and use it to its max potential. And I feel you on that, like starting the business side, like even for you, Ryan. And Joe, you just recently left your job, right? And you're full-time fisherman. So it's one of the most difficult decisions you can make in your life, and also one of the most rewarding. And you're only as successful as you put into it. So
100%.
To all 3 of you, to the 4 of us, even I'll include myself here. I wish all of us never-ending success, hard work, and perseverance through the rough times, because we will have them. But if we all stick together and work through it, I'm sure we'll get to where ultimately we want to be. So
I can just say, like, because I've spent so much time with the 3 of you that, like, there will be, like, whatever our goals are, I'm sure we will all meet them. Like, I've met Andy in the dark many times to go fishing together. Like, he has taken me all over Buffalo, steelhead fishing. We've fished in single-digit weather many, many times together, standing and waders. Clint, I just dragged him all over the Northeast for a couple of days. Like, I grab him off the plane and, like, no lie, boat in tow, like, put him on the water within 25 minutes, and we're instantly, like, getting footage, like, immediately because his flights were delayed. We, like, hammered it out in, like, 2 hours before the sun went down. And then within, like, 4 hours from then, we were on our way on a 3.5-hour trip to Buffalo, and we got there, and, like, there was no hotels with vacancies, so we stayed up in the parking lot. We're both, like, dumping footage, like, we're posting on social medias, like, we're just laughing the whole time. And then we put on the water, filmed for a full day. And the bugs were terrible. Like, it was awful.
I forgot to warn you about the bugs. I think I said, like, first thing in the morning, like, I was like, watch out for the sand flies.
All I needed to know is to wear pants. I would have been fine if I just wore pants.
You didn't ask.
And poor Joe's legs were so sunburnt that the bugs were just biting him on his, like, crispy sunburn. Like, I've been sunburnt plenty of times, but he was crispy.
I think me and John, because I had John King up, the guy who owns Drunkwood, like the wood crafting business, and I'm pretty sure we both gave Joe like the "oh yeah" Kool-Aid Man chant quite a few times when we were near each other.
Oh yeah. But now after spending like 11 days with Clint and 7 days with Ryan, like, you know, I know all you guys will we're all gonna meet our goals. It takes a special person to be able to, like, do what we do, and 100%. Like, it's not you cannot live 9 to 5. You have to have a support system around you that's accepting of you being in the Northeast, thousands of miles away from home for 11 days, or, you know, thousands of miles away from home for 7, or, you know, not going to bed ever and being on our phones 24/7. And we all do that. So yeah, I just wanted to add to what Andy said.
100%. Yeah, I think a lot of times for anybody that's an entrepreneur or starting their own business, I mean, hell, when things are going good, it's easy to be happy about what you're doing. It's those days where just stuff is really tough. You know what I'm saying? You're worn out from a trip. You've got a ton on your plate. You've got real life stuff to deal with too. And, you know, it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. If you can just push up through those days, you'll make it. But it's to constantly be grinding. Like you mentioned earlier, just be absolutely relentless about what you're doing and always stay on it and keep your focus doing that. I think a lot of times our minds are like kind of like our own monsters. We come up with a million reasons as human beings why we can't do things. We talk ourselves out of it. We worry about what other people think, you know, in our life, what they'll think about what you're doing. And you put so many stops there before you're even getting your goal. And once you start to learn to remove those stops and just see it for what it is, you can see light at the end of the tunnel. And I mean, and anybody listening to this, I encourage, if you guys got some dreams or some goals, like, you know, like Andy said, you only live once, and you should have every action you're doing aligned with achieving that goal. You know, don't get off work of a job you don't like and get home and just watch Netflix and be lazy and eat crap. When you get off work, bust your butt and use every free second you have to put your life going in the direction where you want to be a part of that. The co-founder of Cast, that's what he did. Mick was a civil engineer, ran a crew all day long. And then when he got home at 5 p.m., you know, he was building Cast. And that's, I look up to that guy a lot. You know, he's kind of laid the blueprint for me about that. But just want to pass that along to anybody listening, because you can do anything you want. Human beings we're special and we're more powerful than we think. And it's just getting your mind right to do it, you know?
Gotta embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck, stay humble, and
stay humble.
Treat everyone like they are your family member, and life will treat you well.
That's right. That's right.
That's the way I look at it. And I like, just digressing here real fast, kind of staying on this topic. One of my favorite things to do if I'm running into like a coffee shop or like a local Panera just to grab a sandwich real quick, the cashier will always be like miserable. And I'll be like, what do you like about your job? Or do you like your job? And they'll be like, no. But like the one thing I always ask them is like, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
And they'll always tell me, I'm like, so have you ever thought about like starting your own business? And they were like, no, because I don't know the time or have the effort. I go, it takes 30 minutes a day to read how to start a business for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes pen to paper and 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in the door, whatever way you want to go. And then just work at it and do it. You get one life, madam or ma'am or sir. Like, you get one life, live it. Like, don't be sucked into a corporate atmosphere and be stuck.
Right.
So
100%.
But let's digress here because enough small business talk. This is a serious angler podcast. And we're here to talk smallmouth fishing up here in the outer realm and the Great Lakes. And Clint, your first day, Oneida dragged all the way to Buffalo, back to the St. Lawrence, right? Watching Joe in Joe's house being mad, and then Ryan shows up. What was your first experience, Ryan, when you got to meet him? Was Clint like texting you on the side being like, dude, Joe's a madman? Like,
no, he was. I already knew Joe was a madman, so there wasn't anything he was going to tell me that I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? No, not at all, man. Not at all. It was, I mean, from the moment what did y'all do? You played a trick on me, right? When I got off the plane, you were trying.
Right.
We tried to act like Oliver had COVID, so we both wore our masks when we picked him up from the airport. And he was like,
just after my flight was delayed, so I expect nothing less.
Delayed flights all around, by the way. So be careful if you're flying out there, ladies and gentlemen. I slept on the floor of the airport Saturday night.
Yeah, I got delayed on my way back too. It was brutal. But no, man, I kind of knew what I was in store for meeting these guys.
Yeah, I'm glad that the trip was a success. So, Ryan, now you're up here. You're used to fishing for spotted bass on Lake Lanier. Mm-hmm. You get on the St. Lawrence River, and you're firing out. I'm assuming it's either a Prodigy or an Apex, and you lay into that first 4-pounder. What went through your head?
Oh man, I was stoked. There is some similarities to back home. I mean, we fish clear water, we use a lot of finesse techniques, little swim baits and stuff like that. But to be up there, my only experience with smallmouth, I've caught a few in North Carolina and then a few in Tennessee. To be like in the Mecca, as I was calling it, and catching those fish, it was just really special.
Outer realm.
Yeah, well, that was another thing that stuck with me too, is just the water clarity and the color up there. So it looks almost tropical, you know what I'm saying? And I was telling Joe, like, I feel like I should be saltwater fishing. I feel like I should be throwing stick baits for GTs instead of catching smallmouth. And then when we finally made it out to the outer realm, I mean, that blew my mind. I didn't even have to catch a fish out there. And I did. I caught fish. But just seeing that and that long run, I mean, like I said, I felt like I was back here in Tampa running offshore to go fishing. And then we got out to this island, and that's when all mayhem broke loose, And those smallmouth up there, man, they're like this walnut, dark, chocolatey color. They're awesome. I hadn't seen any like that. They're certainly not like that down here in the South,
And they're wide.
Yeah, they're thick.
They're tall, very thick. Like, I mean, I feel like they're as football-y as a football smalley can get. Like,
they're like a rugby ball, even.
Yeah.
But no, it was an amazing experience. I mean, why I was there is we went to film for our swim bait, the Prodigy and the Apex, and the footage we got on this trip. I mean, Clint, dude, you knocked it out of the park. I mean, you two boys came through so big for me. Joe setting it all up, taking us to the place. And Clint, the filming, I've been looking over footage today, and it's just, I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's really special. And also, for our products too, like just simple things like underwater shots, man, how good they look in that clear water with the sun on them, in slow motion. We were talking about that earlier, Clint. I mean, it's stupid. So the whole experience was amazing. I mean, it was really cool.
Ryan's getting like so mad at night because Ryan had a spot list, and you're like, guys, we gotta get this thing done, and we were like, not yet.
Dude, yeah,
trust me.
It's a ton. There's a ton on my shoulders that I don't always talk about, and just trying to get it all done.
Don't worry, dude, we've got it under control.
So the one thing I was stressing was just getting the talking points. Like, we're about to ship our Prodigies to Tackle Warehouse, and we need some product video describing it. And Joe waited to the last day and just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, I was like, dude, you need to do that for a full-time job. He crushed it. They just wanted to watch me squirm and stress for a few days,
impromptu nap as well, right?
I
think there was.
I was done, man. I was done. I was exhausted.
This is how the trip went down, though. So we roll up on day one, and it's like hyper gassing, right? So we can't go
explain what gassing is.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to tell this to people.
I know what gassing is. Like
I know, but
so like us
kind of
Northerners, Andy knows, like us Northerners, when it's blowing and it's like prevailing winds blowing, like when you're like go like this and your hat flies off, that's when it's gassing, right? It is gassing out. So we go to the tackle shop, Lakeside Outfitters, on Oneida the day before, and we like hang out. We spool up cast line, which is amazing braid. Like, it's a 12 carrier braid, but we get like a bunch of shots in the shop, and we're hanging out. And we're, just talking with Scott, the owner, and all the staff. Like, Sean's there, Josh is there, like everybody we know is Dante's hanging out. Like, we're chilling with the guys. And so we go back to my house. We like load everything up. We like finish prepping, and we head up to the river in the morning. So we get to Thousand Islands. We're staying like at one of the bays on Lake Ontario, and we roll up, and it's gassing out. So, and it's post frontal, and it's like bright sun. Like, you can tell the pressure's all off. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. But like, I had an idea in my head of like where to go in like in that like post frontal situation. So we like go to Chameau Bay, where I feel like there should be some post spawn fish, or at least like pre and post spawn fish, like crossing paths. And I'm like, all right, guys, like, we're going to go to this spot first. I know where we're going to go second. I know where we're going to go third. And we should land on them on one of them. And we get to the first one, nothing. So I like swing the boat around, and we like go back through it. And Ryan's like dying to throw top water, right? He's like, I got to throw top water.
I was jumping the gun.
So like, he's like chomping at the bit. He's got this like twitch going. So like, I just like roll onto this rock pile, and the OG twitch, right? So I roll onto this rock pile, and I'm like, I think I can see like a bed way up there in like 5 feet. So I like didn't expect it to be a big fish, because it was kind of a shallow bed. And he just like pops it like 4 times, and just like whoosh, one like rolls on it, but doesn't get it.
Was not a small fish.
No, it was not a small fish. So like he's like we've gone like 15 minutes at our first spot without a bite, and he's like, now he's hooked, right? I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever get him off of this bait for the rest of the day now. And so we fish a little bit more, like maybe 5 more minutes, don't get anything. And I'm like dying to go to the second spot, right? So I get him there, and like we go and we fish this like shallow spot now, because Ryan can't put the top water down. So I have to like start on the inside where he can fish the top water. And he's like twitching through, nothing. And I'm like, all right, guys, like, I'm going to pull us off, pick those swim baits back up. And we just start like slow rolling 3-inch finesse prodigies, like, through this grass. And we're fishing, like, we're moving out from 5 to 10 and from 10 to 15. And all of a sudden, like, there's some rowboats around, and we see them hook up, like drop shotting and stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's going to go down. And then all of a sudden, like, I feel one bite, but I know it's kind of post frontal, and I don't swing on him. I just like kind of like keep like reeling, like real finessey. And then all of a sudden I feel him like turn his head, and I'm just locked into him. And it was like game on from there. We just went ham on him.
Light switch flipped.
Happy days.
Yeah. Like, we just went ham on him for like 3 hours in a row. And we like went and we fished some other places, and we caught like a couple. And then we just were like, let's just go back and like go to town a little bit more on that spot. We go back, and it was just like, it never stopped. It was like another hour and a half. We just like straight leaned on him. And it was cool. It was like that finicky bite. And like, usually I have to use like multiple different kinds of swim baits, one for like those post frontal finicky fish, one for like really, really aggressive fish. And like, what I've experienced this year fishing the Prodigy a lot was like, that thing will flicker and list and roll under slow speeds. and you can burn it when those fish are aggressive too. Like instead of fishing it on a 3/16, you can throw it on a 1/2 ounce and put it on a bait caster and fire it out there and fish it in 20 feet deep, like super quick. And that bait's doing the same thing, and it's super enticing. And like, it's an amazing bait.
No,
You
that
can
was a
use in
lot
all
of
conditions.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We lucked out too this trip because we added 2 new colors, our herring and then gypsy. And so the first time I ever got to fishing was up there, and I can't think of a better place. You know what I'm saying?
Best break-in period place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's take 2 colors that we think will work and make them work. And
yeah, and we did that very well. We did that very well.
Yeah.
So it's it.
That's
That's true product development right there. R&D.
Oh, dude, that's what like June on the Great Lakes is all about, though. Like, because you have fish in so many stages, you can find so many environments. Like go us. I love living here, even though the winter sucks. Like,
yeah,
that is one thing.
You boys can have the winter. You can have the winter up there.
That is one thing I want to point out is the fact that I've been on plenty of shoots. I've done all kinds of things from like Meat Eater to working for Black Rifle, all kinds of different fishing shoots across the country. And typically when you meet up with somebody that's supposed to take you fishing or take somebody else fishing, like Joe taking Ryan fishing, and then you're the camera guy, you're on the back of the boat, and you show up and they're going to take you to this one lake and you're going to fish, and then you're going to fish that lake for a couple of days, and then you go home. But Joe literally chased the bite all over the whole state of New York and was willing to just go wherever the bite was. Like, he was like, all right, well, if like we had a good day here, let's go fish for, or we're fishing for pre-spawn fish here. Let's go fish for post-spawn fish. And then we're like covering the whole spectrum. Like, Joe went above and beyond on making sure we covered all of our bases. Not only did we get our entire shot list, we got giant fish, and then like on both of our new colors, a ton. And then like content, amazing underwater footage. We got talking points he knocked out super clean. Just another shout out to Joe for making this trip like not only go like as we expected, but it went well beyond what we could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I think I need to ask Bailey to put like a round of applause button in here. So whenever something good happens, you see her. Yeah. So I don't have to sit here and do
I think there is.
And also, like, I don't want to leave Andy out of this either. Like, Andy did awesome on putting us on the Erie fish. Like,
yeah, that was a cool experience too.
That was insane. That was like a whole new experience, and being able to have all of those bases covered while we were there, and with the help of both of you guys, like, just hats off to both of you guys for being experienced in your fishery and know how to take these Southern boys like me and Ryan out and be able to catch these awesome fish. So,
no, it was cool. And, I will say Erie. So the difference was when we were fishing the Thousand Islands and around that area, we were catching these smallmouth, like, I don't know, 6 to 10 feet deep. Right. And I've never fished that shallow for smallmouth. I'm more used to like what we were doing on Erie, like 30, 35 feet, on the bottom. So that was a different experience as well,
And I mean, rightfully so, like, you guys came like true post spawn on Erie, right? Because we warm up a lot quicker than Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence. If you came a week earlier, we could have gotten all those fish in 6 to 10 foot of water out there as well. Feel like it's crazy. Like, we have a period from the first to second week of May through now that you can catch pre, post, and spawn fish.
Yeah.
All within,
you guys
like,
have it real rough up there. I feel real sorry for both.
It's awful, isn't it?
You have it. Yeah, you guys have it rough. It's tough. I don't know if I'm going to fish freshwater till I get back up there, to be honest. I think that's what I said to y'all. Yeah. I'm going to fish for snook and tuna, and you boys can have it down here.
The next time you need to come up, and Joe might have his boat put away by then, it's like end of October. Like, October, November bite is sometimes even better than the spawn, post-spawn, pre-spawn bite.
So is it like a shallow cranking deal? Is it like spinnerbait, chatterbait? Like, what are we talking in October? What's going on?
Swim baits.
Swim baits, nice.
Like, the Prodigy is going to absolutely light their doors off. But we can add another element into it and throw them on an A-rig, and we get 5 hooks. So we're talking like
5?
We can have 5 in New York. So, like, I mean, when you're burn in an A-rig and you get 2 5-pound smallies that eat it at the same time, and you hit it and you're like, what do I have? The Loch Ness Monster? And then they jump and go separate rays and break your A-rig in half. Like, you've hit something new. So like, we're speed cranking, we're burning single swim bait, slow crawling single swim baits and burning A-rigs, and you're just getting your arms ripped off.
We'll be back.
Yeah, it's
coming back for sure.
But there's like windows. Like, the only issue with like late October through the end of November for that bite is you might get like 3 days of fish out of 14.
Yeah.
So that's
weather's terrible. It's gassing.
Oh, it's beyond gassing. It's like gallon, like 60, 70, 80 mile prevailing winds.
Dude, that's Andy. It's crazy you say that, because I remember one weekend when Justin and I came up to fish. We stayed at the Marriott downtown because Justin was tired of sleeping in cheap hotels, and like we could see the like harbor from where we were staying, and no lie, like it had to be blowing 50 coming off the lake. Like it was crazy.
Those walls that you guys fished around behind when you came up, like they're just water coming over them the entire time.
Yeah,
that's wild. Crazy. Yeah, I was looking at those. That's wild.
14-foot breaker walls, like,
and the waves are crashing them. Like, so we get a thing called a siege effect. So what happens here in the fall when we get the prevailing gale winds from southwest blowing right up the lake? So gale wind is anything that is sustained, I believe, over 45 miles an hour. Like sustained, not gust, sustained. So 45 miles an hour sustained, 65, 70 mile an hour wind gust. We'll get 10 to 12 foot of water fluctuation. So it basically sucks all the water out of Ohio and pushes it to New York. So like our end of the lake will rise like 18 feet in a matter of minutes.
That's crazy.
So with these giant waves. Wow. And then the issue is then the whole lake turns to mud, and it's like prime time, and you're like waiting. You get like 7 calm days in a row, but it's mud, a little cleaner, cleaner. No, it gets better. A little cleaner. You got 5 hours of fish because the next gale front's coming through and the lake is clear. And you're out in the lake and you're like, oh, I can feel that wind picking up. Just one more cast. Next thing you know, you're driving in 8-foot waves because the gale winds are coming again.
No way. Oh my Lord.
It gets scary in the fall, but you can catch. I think Bailey, Destin, and Jeff, 3 of my really good friends, and Bailey, the host of the Serious Angler Network, they caught 181 fish in 9 hours, and all of them were over 4 pounds. And like, and then like that, just dumb.
I haven't caught that many fish in the past 6 months.
But here's the thing about it: it took them 4 hours for the bite to turn on.
Ooh.
That's normal for me, man.
In 4 hours, they caught 100. I think it was 181 fish in like 4 hours.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's fun. Lord.
So back to the experience. Which was your favorite part, Ryan and Clint? You can kind of go at this together, tag team it here. What was your favorite
let
part?
Let Ryan go first.
Trip?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah,
my favorite part of the whole trip.
Yeah.
It was the outer realm. Just seeing such a different place like that. That was a cool experience for me. Awesome. No offense to Lake Erie.
None taken.
Just the scenery, just being out there is just something I hadn't seen before, you know. So that
what I always refer to as the outer realm is like we launch at Henderson Harbor, because Henderson Harbor, in order to get out onto the lake, you're running north. So any waves coming from the southwest or west, you can like run trough like down low in between them. So like you go to you come out of Henderson, you go under this bridge, and you like pop out of the tube, and there's a breaker wall right there so the currents don't like crush you. And like you come out of the tube and you just like see Stony Island off in the distance. And then once you get around Stony, you have Little Galoo, and the ducks. The ducks are way off. You can't even see them. But like you come around Stony, and it's just like, dude, you can't see like 270 degrees around you. You can't see
Yes, the
anything
ocean.
but the
It's the
horizon, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so it's awesome. You like round Stony Island and it's like, boom, you're just like out there, dude. Like,
Yeah.
It's a jam, man. I love it. I love it.
Cool.
What was your least favorite part, Ryan?
Did I have
me and Joe giving him a hard time?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Joe and Clint.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they were delirious or what it was, but at some point they both developed this accent and they kept it for 3 days, and I had to be in the boat with them. So it just became the point of just crazy. And the funny thing is like Joe didn't even know how to turn back into himself after that. Like,
we're at the restaurant. He's talking,
and he still had the accent. He's like, God, like he checked himself on it. It was funny as hell. But yeah, that was.
I don't know what you're talking about, Holmes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Ryan, like I'm surprised that you got tired of it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that was
that
was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, that Thursday morning like hour charades in the parking lot was just hysterical.
And and I have another thing too. Worst part of the thing I didn't like was the flight on the way home. Getting all screwed up for both of us. Clint got it worse than me. He had to sleep in the airport. I got home at 3 a.m. and they lost my bag. So with all my reels and the hard drive in it, I finally got it back.
Oh my gosh. It's always something.
And for anybody who films content out there, that's why we have literally all of this footage in 3 different places right now.
Yeah,
so, just so you know. It's important to back your stuff up and keep it in multiple drives.
Yeah, absolutely. So Clint, how about you? Favorite part of the trip? And then least favorite part?
I'd say I had a blast when all 4 of us were on the boat together, honestly. And I put on
that was fun.
I got a little something.
Do it.
No.
Do it.
Y'all probably seen this floating around the Instagram, so I had to buy myself one.
So explain this. We
were gonna have 4 people. We were going to have 4 people on Joe's boat, and Joe didn't have enough life jackets. So, of course, Andy, being the guy he is, brought a Type 1 life jacket, just like the one I'm wearing right now. And so, of course,
spoiler up.
Joe, spoiler.
Yeah, that's the best. Yes, that's the best part. And the wind kept that thing up all day. It was magical.
So, of course, Joe's got the nice low profile. I think Ryan put on another low profile. And it's gassing outside. And so I was like, I'll take the orange one. And then I put it on almost as a joke, right? Just like, let me put on this orange life jacket. And then I put it on and I'm like, this thing's sweet. But then like I noticed the whistle. And I was like, this is hilarious. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's Coast Guard approved. Like that's nice to have if you're overboard. But at the same time, I thought it was funny in the moment to blow the whistle. I'm not going to do it on here because it'll blow all our ears.
No, after you caught a fish, you'd blow the whistle.
Yeah. And even right before I caught a fish.
Yeah.
He's like, I must not be ketchup.
So I decide to stick to it. I was like, I'm going to just get this thing on, and I'm wearing this thing all day while we're fishing. So we pull up to the first spot. I make it was like my second cast, and then I'm like hooked up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I land this fish on, I think it was a drop shot or something, and land this fish. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, this thing might have a little juju to it. It might have some mojo action to this life jacket. Because I was like, I just caught the first fish. I was feeling good. Yeah.
Yes.
Look at that thing. Exactly.
That's amazing.
And then so I just ran with it, and I wore this thing literally for 7 hours, and I never took it off. I felt safe when we were in the waves because I knew if I hit the water, I'd be sitting here looking like this, going, Andy, save me.
No, the best part is like when the other captains were out there and they're driving by, and I think they were all pointing and laughing.
So many dirty looks. So many people were just looking at me like, what? Yeah,
that's my favorite right there.
Well,
I want to frame that.
We should frame it and all of us sign it.
Yeah. No, I'm down for that. And so I loved it so much, and I loved the experience so much. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy one. So there it is. I bought one. My girlfriend was super stoked about it. She thought it was a great
Clint Kent.
She's like, you spent $50 on that thing? And I was like, it's for the memories, okay?
I think you have to bring that with us on all our filming trips moving forward.
Oh yeah.
And at least one day towards the end of the shoot, you gotta wear that for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
could you
I think I
imagine
can turn
in
it into a
Florida,
whole persona, you know?
Florida in July with that around like a sun shirt? It's gonna be like a 2 different colored sun shirt by the end of the day.
Yeah.
No, well, and like the thing that we forgot to really mention too is like when we rounded that breaker wall and like it was still like almost 4-footers that first morning.
Yeah.
Like, just going out, and we were going into them, and we all got a little bit splashed on. Like, that's the other reason why Clint never took it off, is we knew it was only going to build.
Yeah.
And also the boat's doing this the whole morning, and like I'm standing in the back, but at the same time, it's like even going to take a pee off the back of the boat. I mean, it was a little sketchy. I was like, I felt safe having this big old orange thing on in case I slip off the back.
You know, he didn't have his Great Lakes legs.
No.
Yeah, my sea legs were definitely out of it. So I had the backup of that. And I mean, I feel like it gained you an extra couple miles an hour with me having that like.
Yeah, if you were sitting where I sat and if I sat where you were, definitely it would have given us some like downforce.
Yeah.
So definitely it would have pushed the nose a little lower, but definitely would have got more wet butts in the morning if that would have happened. Because we know Joe was a little sleepy when we were driving out around those walls, and like the first 3 of them came over the bow, and Clint had a very wet butt.
That was an experience.
Like I think the first thing I did was like, "Whoa!" And then Clint just sat there. He's like, "What?" And I was like, "Stand up, stand up."
Yeah, right.
Just like running down.
It like rolls
because riding blind
like slow
when it's gassing. It's a little sketchy. Riding blind when you're sitting there and you're sitting up front and everybody, all 3 stooges are sitting there looking forward and all their eyes get about this big around. And I'm like, oh, something's about to happen, right? And I I just sit up and while this wave goes under my butt, you know?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to tell my clients when I'm driving out there in that crap or coming back in, I go, if you see my foot come off the throttle and my hands go up, do the same. And they just laugh. I'm like, and the one time it happened and the clients looked at me and my hands and my feet went up and they just sat there and they took it right in the chops. I felt so bad. It's like, I've warned you. Like, that when you come into the South Gap, when it's gassing like that, what were those waves? Like 6 foot? Like they were massive. Because they just rebound and do this and like clap and just stack. There's no good way to navigate that.
And they can either be so close together or so far apart at the same time. It's like trying to learn, like since I've moved to Texas and it's gassing out here because I feel like the wind hasn't stopped blowing since I've been out here. I'm trying to learn how to run a boat in rough conditions because in the mountains, when I lived in North Carolina all my life, basically I was protected. But in Texas, it's flat and there's no protection. I feel like similar story up there. You just have so much mileage of water for those waves to build up when it starts to gas.
Yeah, a little rough water driving, like a little segment we can throw in here. The biggest thing you can do is ride low and slow, keep your nose up, and then time it. So, because every wave it doesn't go all the way across the lake, right? They kind of come in like little segments. You can, if you ride low and slow and your bow is up just slightly where you can see, you can almost drive around the waves. You have to go real slow and ester your way through, but you'll stay dry. You'll stay safe. You're not going to tear up your boat. Doesn't matter if you get there first when it's blowing 40. Like everyone's going the same speed or slower. So the more you can learn to navigate those waves properly without beating your kidneys to a bloody pulp, the better off you're going to be.
And always properly caffeinate and eat breakfast first, because if you don't, the first 5 minutes of the trip,
Clint Kent gets a wet butt.
Then you make all your friends wet, and if you don't catch them, they're just miserable all day. So thank God we caught them. But I almost ruined the day before it even started.
Well, good thing it was like 95 degrees by the end of the day, so like we're all dry relatively quick. So we'll digress here. So what was your favorite cast bait to throw for the smallmouth up here, you guys?
Umi. me. Pick me.
Just go.
Oh, okay. So like I actually did not catch a 6-pounder last year. So which I mean I think I caught, and this number is going to sound low if you guys know Andy, but I think I caught 85 or so over 4 pounds last year. I think I caught in the high 20s over 5, but I did not catch a 6. So, like I fished the herring color on the first day because in that bay that was getting all the wind, when we were fishing for those post spawn fish, it just that color matched the situation. But when we got to the outer realm on day 2 of filming, we as soon as I dropped the trolling motor, I looked down and we were in 18 feet of water, and I could see, like every hair on the back of this crawfish that like crawled by. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Gypsy. Like that's like our own morning dawn. And that purple and pink combination in that emerald blue, emerald green water is just fire. And like within a half hour, I finally caught a 6-pounder, and
that was awesome, man. That was a hell of a fish,
dude. I almost cried. Like
I was so stoked for you.
It was just so nice to catch them on like a custom rod that Alpha Angler and I have been working on. Like it's a prototype rod. It was the first really big fish that we had caught on this color bait, and like it was on like a trip that I had helped plan, and we got it on camera, and I don't know, it was just like it was like an emotional thing.
No, it's perfect, man. You worked so hard about
not to mention early in the trip and early in the day too.
Yeah. Like trips made. Now we can do whatever
that's
we
the
want.
whole thing. I think that it's probably some pressure off your shoulders in a way. Not that anybody would ever hold you responsible for anything, but it's just like if you came and fished Lake Lanier with me and Eddie or something like that, and we're trying to show you something, and it's fishing and nothing's guaranteed, right? And then to have that happen early in the trip, that was awesome.
It was huge. It felt really good. I mean, because like I want, not just so that we get the shots, but like I want my fishery to show out. Like it's number one in the country. Like I don't want to bring my buddies up here and like because you guys are family. Like I don't want my fishery to not impress. Like I like live basically on like 2 bodies of water most of the year. I fish like 70% of my days on Oneida and the Thousand Islands region, and like to be able to get you to catch one on your first cast that morning, and then like a half, and it was on a bait that we didn't get to fish because of the conditions the day before, and then for like a half an hour later for me to grab that one was like, I don't know, dude. It was like
cool. That was awesome, man. I was actually, when I was looking through footage today, man, I saw that whole fish catch. I'll send it to you. It's special, man. You're fired up. It's really, really cool. It's a good deal. Yeah. That apex fish, that was my favorite fish of the trip, believe it or not. That one, just because like that was probably the only time in the whole entire trip for like 10 minutes, there was no wind and I could throw a nail weighted apex because I knew they would eat it, man. I was like fired up to go up there and throw it. And then I like right off the bat hooked a fish. That was my favorite fish. That was a lot of fun.
What color apex was it on?
That was
Purple Rain,
right? Purple Rain with a little tungsten nail weight nose hooked. I fish it like that over the brush on Lanier a lot. And believe it or not, we'll fish it 25, 30 feet deep and just let it fall down and slow roll it. But there's something about a bite when you don't have like a big ball head on it, you don't have a big chatterbait, you don't have something heavy on it, and you just like it's so light and you just feel them smoke it, man.
The line jumps like 6 feet.
I was using the Alpha Angler spy bait rod too. I think at one point I said you could feel a fish fart on that rod with the cast braid and 7-pound 4-carbon line. It was heaven, man. I mean, I cannot wait. I got a buddy Franco who fishes just like me. He's never used Alpha Angler rods, and I'm going to get him on those. He's going to freak out about it. But we were using that, and then the wrench for the Prodigy. That was really cool because it's funny when when I traveled up there, it's the first time I didn't travel with my rods. Because I fish Shimano X Prides, right? And I'm just used to the way my rods feel, you know everything about them. So not that I was doubting the rods he was using, but you don't know how it's going to feel till you get there. And dude, those 2 rods are ridiculous. So I'm going to be selling the X Prides if anybody on here wants.
Oh boy!
And I want to get those 2 rods for the setup because it was a lot of fun to fish.
Andy, we've ruined them.
We're ruining everyone.
Yeah, I listed 11 of my
that.
15 rods. Like I only own 15 rods right now. And I listed 11 yesterday, and I've got my Alpha Angler list right here of which rods I want. I've got the prices.
You boys pretty much ruined us. It was a hell of an experience for both of us, man. So I think
now we just got to get Andy on that cast braid, and
he's gonna have some. He's gonna have some coming his way for sure.
That's wait. Spider wire or whatever he is using is a little rough. I'm just kidding.
Andy, suffix 832. Just to let you know, man, and I always say this, that braid is the thing I'm the most proud of that we've created because they tested it for 2 years. They did the right things to make it. And I mean, I don't care if I sound like a Hummer. It is by far the best braid in America. I'll put it against
it. By far. I'll tell you guys this too. Like Ryan knows. I don't know if I told you, Andy. So my prototype, I knocked the insert out of the top guide. I have no idea when, but it was either day 1 or before day 1 even started. And I fished that rod every single day for 7 straight days, and that braid is still stinking awesome. And
That's
it's
crazy.
like it's amazing. Like it's like the thinnest braid. I know, dude. It's awesome. Like, but I wanted to like I didn't want to stop using the rod because I've been testing it, and B, I wanted to put that braid through the ringer because like my whole beef with like every single major manufacturer of braided line right now is as they keep going thinner and thinner, their coatings are gone and the braid starts to fall apart like a cotton cotton t-shirt that you've had for 17 years. And like I wanted to see if I could ruin this stuff. And like I fished that rod hard, like hundreds of casts for 7 straight days. And no lie, like I finally took the reel off the rod today because I have an open coming up, and I'm going to put fresh line on like that rod, and I'm going to still fish that rod in the open next week. So that's like, awesome. Yeah, I mean like I don't want to hurt it any further. So
what's funny about that braid too is that when it was being tested, you know, it wasn't tested over here. It was tested on the Great Barrier Reef and I don't know how many listeners know what this fish is, but a giant trevally, which I would say is probably the strongest fish in the ocean besides a big bluefin tuna. So, and those fish, you have to lock your drag. I mean, they'll reef you in 2 seconds, you know what I'm saying? And so it stood up to those conditions, and it's just cool to see all the way down to the 12-pound we were using, how good that was, you know? But I want to mention this too, because, you know, I don't know how many people know about our braid, and I don't want to just sit here and make this claim that it's the best braid in America. There's a reason why this braid is the way it is. First off, it's a 12-strand carrier, so it's super smooth. But what we do when we manufacture the braid is use something called high stitch processing, and it's basically a steam bath that's going to shrink all the fibers on the braid. So if you can imagine, there's no air gaps, right? That's going to shrink the diameter. You're going to cast further with that. And then whether you realize it or not, throughout the day, your line absorbs water, right? It gets waterlogged, which means your cast is going to be shorter and shorter. We put a light Teflon coating on the braid, so it's going to repel water. So the cast you're making, you know, first thing in the morning is going to be the same cast before you pick your trolling motor up and leave. And it's something I'm really proud of too, you know? And I mean, dude, use good braid. If you're going to have like nice reels like we have and these Alpha Angler rods and everything, it complements what you're doing, you know?
I guess the cliche here could be use cast to cast further.
That's right. There you go.
Longer
That's
and
right.
better.
I have a question for you boys, and I'm not trying to change the subject.
No, change it. Go ahead.
When is the best time that I can come up there and throw top water? Or is it even a thing?
It is. So like Great Lakes smallies, there's very small windows where they'll eat a top water because they're so focused on eating down because of the
gobies and stuff like that.
So like to catch top water fish, you're looking more like Finger Lakes where there's not gobies
Champlain
in there.
Finger Lakes.
I see. Okay, yeah, because you know when I was up there throwing the OG around, I mean I was just gung ho to get a smallmouth on one. But what happens, and all I can do is compare it to my home lake. So like in Lanier, when the water temperature, you know, it's after they spawn, the water temperature is still a little cool. They'll come up and boil under it. if you can call them up, you can tell they kind of toy with it. They don't come up and smash it. Once the water temperature comes up and they're ready, they'll come up and waylay it. And just being up there and not knowing your fishery, I wanted to throw it a lot because that water's so clear. It's fun to watch the bait swim and stuff. But I felt like I was kind of jumping the gun a little bit, like maybe I was up. Because for us, our big month for topwater is June. You can definitely catch some in the end of April, May, but that bite's just not, it hasn't manifested yet. And I kind of felt like I was doing the same thing up there, like just what would be our May throwing topwater,
So there's 2 distinct times a year up here that the topwater really takes off for me. It's like right post spawn, so end of May, beginning of June for the inland lakes.
Yeah.
And then we get like a special little deal here on Erie. It was a week before you guys came up, usually when our topwater bite, but it's like a 3-day window. We need mayflies and sandflies to be
right. It's pretty specific, yeah.
But then
for us because of herring, right?
Yeah.
So that just causes them to stay eating top. Gobies on the bottom, herring are running around.
So that's where I was getting it with the Finger Lakes. Our Finger Lakes are alewife driven.
Okay, yeah, that's similar to a herring.
So we get like, I don't think it's technically like an alewife spawn, but we get like a false alewife spawn in the fall where all the alewives push shallow and the smallmouth follow.
Yeah.
And that's when you can get them to come up and catch some of the biggest largemouth of the year as well on topwater. They're super active.
I think I got 3 or 4 topwater bites this trip, and I caught the smallest one, of course.
Yeah.
But this is what would piss me off is like, besides that bedfish, the morning when we were fishing the St. Lawrence, I had on this ether, I had a monster. They just come out and just porpoise it and jump over it. Dude, I'm so ruined by topwater. I'll sit there and throw the thing for 4 more hours because I saw that one fish miss the bait. It's so stupid. And meanwhile, like Joe's over here left and right catching 4 and 5 pounders on the Prodigy, which is my bait. And we came out there to film the Prodigy, and I'm over here just firing this thing. It's so stupid. It's
I think the like 3 or 4 times I talked to you, you're like, so where can I catch a topwater fish? I'm like, just throw it.
It's because of the Australians. It's because of Mick and Ben. I don't know, like if you've always seen GT Buster on YouTube, if you ever watch some of his videos fishing for GT, he's like a comic book character. How fired up he is over topwater fishing, and that's what he told me. What either Mick or him said, topwater, the only topwater. I mean, the only water.
The only water is top.
The only water, right? Yeah.
It's so funny. If Bailey was here, he'd be telling everyone that I laugh like a little school child whenever I get a topwater bite because it's my absolute favorite way to fish.
It's pure joy.
Yeah,
pure
it's
joy.
Just especially when you.
Let's bring this to attention. Joe LaBarbera is not the biggest topwater fan.
Yeah.
No, he likes the deep jig bite or the deep.
That threw me. I want to catch them. I want to catch them on like super deep, like 35 to 50 feet, half, 5/8, 3/4 ounce football jig, and I just like I want to feel it go dunk, and there be some slack in the line, and me get to just like reel up on braid and yoink on them. Like I don't know, that's just me.
It was pretty fun.
I'm probably going to catch a bunch of crap for this, but you said something else that I maybe didn't like or whatever on the trip, right? So I'm going to diss a lure that is huge up there for you guys, and that is the Ned rig. I cannot stand the thing or make myself throw it because this is why. And I'm a little different. Like a lot of guys on Lanier where I'm from, will throw shaky heads and stuff, but they'll still throw it on a spinning reel, right? I like to throw like a heavier shaky head, like a 4-inch Cinco, something like that, on a bait caster and just jack them, right? And at that little, like the Ned rigs I've seen, they weigh like what, like a 16th ounce or something like this, and they got about that much plastic, and you got to sit there and throw them, and you got to count, your whole entire life for it to fall down and drag it. Now, obviously, I probably don't Ned rig fish as much as you guys because I'm maybe sounding like an idiot, but I can't stand those things. That is not my deal. Give me a jig, give me a shaky head, just something I can drag and jack them.
So that Ned rig that I gave Clint.
Just look at his face when I was saying this. He's ready to just unleash on me.
No. I actually can't stand dragging and Ned rig fishing. I absolutely hate it, but I do it. But the one that I gave to Clint was actually a 3/8 ounce head, and the hook on it, you can drive it home with a bait caster. Like,
I'm down for that.
With like 10-pound test, you probably could have fished the Ned rig on that.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, you guys do have the right water to fish it. Back home, there's so much brush and timber that like you'll get a pack of those and you'll lose within the first 10 minutes. You'll lose the whole pack. You know what I'm saying? It
great,
just
pass.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So here's my whole thing though, and like everybody hates it, but like Clint was throwing a 7.6 heavy with 17-pound fluoro and a 3/4 ounce football jig. I was throwing, what was it? Like 20 or 30-pound braid to a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader and like a little 7.3 medium heavy rod and like spinning rod.
Yeah,
and like
we're throwing the same exact bait.
Yeah, and we're throwing the same exact bait, right? So like Clint, how many times did you swing and miss though?
3. I've tracked the GoPro footage. I lost 3 fish because of straight fluorocarbon line.
Yeah. So like I only missed like 1 bite, maybe 2 bites, but
you missed 1 bite. I went to the footage pretty hard.
And, like,
He's like, I want to prove Joe wrong.
Yeah, because I was really looking. I was looking, but you only missed 1 bite all day.
So like I know everybody like, dude, I love jacking them on a baitcaster on like 17 or 20-pound fluoro too, but like with the waves, the way it puts a bow in your line.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Feel stuff on sand. Like Ryan's like, dude, like I'll throw a shaky head, 12-pound test, 35 feet of water. I'm like, no, dude. Like,
yes,
no, like,
you have to.
no.
All right.
Current's
a
real thing.
Joe are coming south. You boys are coming to visit Lanier.
No, but I mean, like, I guess
slackwater fishing though.
Yeah, that's like
comparing
that's
the
a reservoir,
Tuckasegee to a pond. Yeah.
Like, dude, I could hook them in my bathtub too. Like,
hey, now listen, hold on now. Lanier is not a bathtub here. Okay, it's a decent size.
It also doesn't have current,
and it's also the most like boat owned, like crazy boat driver lake.
It's the busiest
country.
lake in the summer. Like it's nuts. And I'll still put it up there. I think I'll say it's the #1 spotted bass fishery right now in the country. I'll put that up there. I mean, you have those lakes in Northern California where there's bigger spots, but how strong this lake fishes, now that I live in Florida, when I go home, I always go up to the mountains and we'll fish a couple other lakes and we'll come back and hit Lanier. Every single time Lanier's fishing better. And I'm like, I should have just stayed here for a few days,
Shouldn't have went to Chatoog today. I should have went to Lanier.
That's right.
Chatoog. That's a whole lake, dude. Right. That was a whole lake in college.
Nice.
Lake Chatoog. Yeah. But yeah, 10 times out of 10 rather go to Lanier than Chatoog.
Yeah.
And trust me, I've spent a lot of time on Chatoog. Yeah, and that's one thing that's been cool about what we've been filming is we have Lanier, which we all rank as one of the highest class spotted bass lakes, so we have that on film. Then we go to Guntersville, which is like in the history books.
You catch them on the down under, right? At Guntersville.
Yeah,
on the Bartlett bluegill,
top water baits.
Yeah, them top. What the hell? Yeah, them top water baits.
Yeah, and then we go up north to the motherland and catch those brownfish. So that tribe.
Yeah, this video is going to be
on
sick.
Camera. Like having all of those on camera in multiple forms. It's not like we have one largemouth, one spotted bass, and one smallmouth. Like we have full days of catching spots, largemouth, and smallmouth. So the amount of footage, what's sitting on these drives right now, that's going to come out soon. It's
stupid, dude. Yeah, it's cool. I was thinking about the biggest fish from each of the trips. So we've got like on this will be like a 5-pound Lake Lanier spot, Joe's 612 smallmouth, and JD's 7-pound Guntersville largemouth. That's pretty cool,
5, 6, 7. Keep them in numerical order.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my bad.
That's awesome.
No, it's cool. It's really cool. So
it's fantastic.
Anyways,
so Clint, when you're up here, how many PBs did you catch?
I caught two, and it was like I was absolutely stoked. So like my first smallmouth PB was back when I really was getting into fishing in college. Like I fished my whole life, and then had something happen when I was younger, and to where I didn't hit a lake anymore between the time I was like 10 years old and 18 years old. I just pond hopped, and then got into college and joined the fishing team. Had no idea tournament fishing was a thing, no idea. And then I was 18 years old, and I was like, "There's a fishing team? Like these people are competing in fishing tournaments?" I had no idea it was a thing. And then so it was my first year on the fishing team, and I got a hold of my first bait caster, because they called me Can't Bait Cast Bartlett, because I was like, big swim bait, I'm gonna throw it on the offshore spinning reel. I was like, I don't need to throw that bait caster. I was like, I literally I got an offshore, like big 4,000 size offshore reel, and I was slinging a Huddleston Deluxe on that thing, and I thought I was the bee's knees, you know. And so anyway, so I
throwing the HUD on a 4K. I love it.
Nice.
And then so I finally get convinced enough to buy this super cheap baitcaster reel off my buddy, and I had a Berkeley Lightning rod, extra heavy swim bait combo, right? About a $50 swim bait combo, and I was throwing this live target rainbow trout 6-inch, and I was throwing it up into this waterfall in one of my local little mountain lakes, and I set the hook. I feel like the big bite. I jack this hook, and this fish comes off, and it's like a 7-pound largemouth, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like hooked. And then I asked my buddy, I'm like, hey, this thing has a hook keeper on the bottom where I could put a treble hook on. I didn't know how to change split rings or put hooks on anything at this point. So he showed me how to thread on a treble hook on here. And then, because I was like, I don't want to miss another bite. And I make a couple more casts, and it was my birthday. And I was like, dude, I don't want to leave until, like, I just lost a 7-pounder, which at that point would have been like 4 pounds more than my PB at that point. Like the PB was literally like 3 or 4 pounds, other than this one fish when I was a kid. I actually had the picture right here on my desk. That was a 5-pounder on a Castmaster, which was pretty sweet, off my Snoopy rod. Anyway,
nice.
So finally, there's like still an old video on my YouTube. And I get another bite, and I just get hammered, and I'm like cranking it, and I was about to boat flip it. My buddy misses it with the net like 3 times, and I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll boat flip it. He finally gets it in the net, and we're like freaking out. Like, I've never caught a smallmouth before. Like, I caught 2 tiny smallmouth this big out of the river before. That was it. And it's a 492 on the scale, and I was stoked. In Western North Carolina, I was like, this is the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen. And so that was like so cool. And then to be up north for just a few days, and that was 2018, and now it's 2022. So I guess 4 years, math. And then literally, like, that was the first day, right? That was when you caught your 6-pounder. Y'all had 23.5 pounds. Second day, yeah, second day with Ryan up there, and then so like we got all our filming done for the most part. Like, had a baller day, 23.5 pounds in the bag, crazy footage, fish jumping everywhere. Like, so Ryan was like, hey, Clint, make a couple casts. And so I pick up that herring Prodigy on a little ball head and just like slow roll it on the bottom. And I couldn't have been fishing for more than 5 minutes. And it was like, zzz, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. And then I think it was like, I didn't treat it like it was big for some reason. Like, I was just like letting it fight, whatever. And it was like beside the boat jumping. I was like, Ryan, can you get the net? And then he's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then he's like, finally, after doing this number a couple times, gets the net. And then we get this fish in the net. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it was like, I didn't realize the caliber of this fish at the time. And then like we put it on the scale, and I was like, it was 5 even. And I was like, so I just beat my PB by 0.08. I was like, that's awesome.
Good
and
math.
I was super stoked. Yeah. I'm struggling here with the math late at night. But then that was super cool. And then fast forward to Lake Erie, and with the help of you guys, man, dragging the Prodigy, that same blue herring Prodigy, on a drop shot, and out there dragging around, hook up, and it was like one of those same things, which was so crazy to think about. Like, when I know I hook a big fish, like, I'm normally very animated, like not quite like YouTuber style, but like very like excited and amped up and all that stuff, like so ready for this fish, like, oh my gosh, get this fish in the boat. But like, for some reason, I was very nonchalant about both of these fish catches. And
it's because we'd seen 4,000 fish caught right before then from being up there. We were still in shell shock from the northern guys.
Well, it's funny too, like, and I'll say this as well. Like, I know exactly how you're feeling, because every time I catch a big one, I have no idea it's giant until I get it at the boat. Because they like run up, and then they constantly just run to the boat.
You can't tell in that current.
Like, it's like 2-pounder, and all of a sudden you're like, oh god.
Yeah. Like, for me in North Carolina, when I would catch big smallmouth on my local lake and see him jump, I'd be like, oh my god, it's a 3 or 4 pounder. And like, I know, I'm like, oh my god, it's big. But then, for some reason up there, it's like you have no idea. You can't tell.
Yeah,
and, the water.
And some of the ones, some of the ones you're like monster, and you get it in the net, and you're like,
yeah, I know.
You're going to Ike on it because you're like, it's a giant, and then you get it, it's like a 3 1/4, and it fought you like a 10-pounder.
The only reason Ike is like that is because he fishes in New Jersey. I found that out firsthand when I went up there to film with him in New Jersey in January. Terrible idea. But he got 3 bites all day, and they were all largemouth about like this. And he was like, yeah, because it was like 12 degrees outside. And we were freezing. And I was like, I'd be celebrating too if I got 3 bites all day. Like that's why he's so fired up. He's an awesome dude, though. He's a lot of fun to be around and be in the boat with. Like if I wasn't in the boat with him on that 12-degree day, then I probably wouldn't have made it because he kept me warm by laughing all day.
Love it. Now, Ryan, you got a 6, didn't you?
Did
you get a 6?
No, I did. Believe it or not, I didn't beat my PB. I caught a pretty big one down at Dale Hollow in Tennessee. That's an awesome fishery too. It's got some really big ones in it. When we were first testing the Prodigy, the very first time, I got a 597.
Yeah, believe it or not, like 597 is a really hard weight to beat because you're like Joe last year, right? He caught none over 6. Like 597 is virtually a 6-pounder.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bailey, the host here on the show, I think he was stuck at like 515 for like 3 years. So virtually like the same size fish.
Yeah.
It's so hard to eclipse that 6-pound mark. Joe's killing flies over here.
I got him too.
The sand flies followed him home. But like it's such like an incredible place to catch vast numbers of 4.5 to 5 and
that's what's so cool about it.
There's just so many, and you can catch them so many different ways with like the nail weight on a nose hook to apex, or slinging the Prodigy around on a ball head, or a football head, or drop shotting it, or I bet you even like if we nail weighted it and did the nose hook on it like the apex, you'd probably catch them that way too.
Oh yeah.
Apex on shaky head, mate.
Or Prodigy on a football jig, or on a sled head. Like Smallies love that stuff, and we can really experiment and showcase things in a different aspect because our fish are so willing to bite.
Yeah,
dude, I sacked them on that Prodigy on a football jig.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. The whole trip's been awesome. I can't thank you guys enough, man. That was really special for me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're able to come out and experience Erie. And it was funny that you guys didn't want to leave after the one day here. And then you sat on this same waypoint for like a total of 20, like almost 20 hours of fishing on the same waypoint.
Yeah. Don't worry. Now you've ruined us. We'll be back.
It was within like 400 feet. It was like we stayed in a 400-foot drift. Dude, when we went back the second day, Clint and I looked like we only did that drift 3 times over the course of like, I don't know, 8 hours. Like it was just like spot lock, move 35 feet, spot lock again, make a zillion casts.
And the wind wasn't blowing near as bad too. So when you came off of the spot lock, it didn't affect it. But still, no, we were soaking.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden it's just like, did you notice like how they came in waves? Like you'd hook one and then you'd hook like 4 or 5 and then it would go silent for like 20 minutes.
It would go silent when all of the other boats would come around us.
Well, that's why, because they're dragging live bait by and it really like messes with those fish as soon as they smelled like shad. But then as soon as those boats are gone, they settle down and all of a sudden they'll eat whatever you want to throw in front of them again.
Oh my gosh, like I should have just eaten lunch every time any boat other than yours came by on that second day. Like I should have just sat down and eaten and made myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every time.
It was funny too. I don't know if you noticed when I was on my guide trip, like every time those boats came near, I just left. I was like, I'm out of here. Like I can't deal with
One time you drove like a mile away. I was like, all right, if Andy's not back in an hour, we're going to go follow him because it died on us too. And we were like, what do we do? Like, oh, no. And we were just waiting. And eventually, when the boats all went past us, most of them pulled up their trolling motors and left. like gone, like they went in for the day.
And then 10 minutes later, it's
like clockwork, dude.
It's crazy.
And I was like, all right. And then sure enough, like we're on fire. And you must have seen them leave too, because you just came right back.
That's literally the only reason why I left. I went to go check out an area I haven't fished all year. And we caught a couple over there, but as soon as I watched those boats leave, I was like, let's go back to the fish. Like where I exactly know where they are.
Well, and the thing too is like you and I even talked about it. Like you knew I mean, you put us on those fish. Like you knew those fish were leaving. You're like, dude, like it might be hours, not days, that these fish are left.
Yeah,
like,
there's maybe like 4 or 5 schools of fish left out there right now. Like it's just about done. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool though. I mean, it was neat how those fish live on a different bottom composition. Like you can go through, like, dude, I can go through the photos without looking at the date. Like I could scramble them all up and like just look at the fish and tell you where we caught it. Yeah. Like whether it was in like Chameau Bay, whether it was out on the outer realm, out on, on Lake Ontario, or whether it was like at Lake Erie. Like you can tell what those fish live on. It's crazy.
It's crazy how like pale, tannish, yellowish our fish are. But as soon as you get them in the rock, which is where they're getting to now, they get like vibrant brown tiger stripes on it. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Like that first day with Joe on Erie, like some of those fish he was catching up a little bit shallower had that darker tint to them. And then as soon as we went out offshore, they were like pale bronze.
Yep.
Fish.
Oh, yeah. So, overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the smallmouth fishery against saltwater?
Are you looking at me?
Both Clint. I know Clint's been out there a little bit in the salt, right?
Yeah.
So
he
where
films
would you
that.
rate it?
He's not as crazy about it. I mean, it's about as close as you can come to it. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. Yeah, I mean, here the thing is with saltwater, man, is we go so far where we fish that you can have days that are just absolutely stupid, right? Now, some days can be tough depending on the tides and the moon and all that. But I think, with your fish as well, especially out there at the outer realm, you guys only really get a few months a year to really fish out there because of the weather. And then a lot of days guys aren't running out that far. So they're not getting pounded as much, right? So there's, I'd say it's close. I mean, it's not a topwater tuna, but they're pretty awesome fish.
Yeah, you can't beat topwater tuna. That is something I need to do. So, while we're getting ready here to wrap up, Joe, do you have anything else you want to hit on before I hit Clint and Ryan with the last question, the surprise question?
I mean, I just think the biggest thing that like I've walked away with since I started using cast baits, right, was, I mean, I talked about some of the other features of their products before, but like something that we haven't mentioned at all is probably, like, to me, the second most important thing that I get out of them, and that's I can use this swim bait to catch anywhere from 5 to 20 fish when I'm using a Prodigy.
The durability is exceptional.
It's exceptional, and what that offers me, and will offer everyone, like me as a tournament angler, as a full-time angler now, you as a weekend angler, or somebody that just goes fishing soon, is you have to carry so many less baits with you. And then, like, if you get grass on your bait and you knock it off the water to try to knock that vegetation off, you don't have to spend all day straightening that bait on your hook. Like, it stays on there, it stays in one piece, and it lets you make as many casts as possible so that you're efficient. You're not wasting tons of money on plastic. And like right now with gas being $5 a gallon to drive to the lake, like if you only have to take one pack of baits and you can catch 100 fish on that one pack, like thank goodness.
That's really cool.
Like it's unreal. Like to have a bait that has that kind of action, like literally the fastest moving tail I've ever seen, and yet still holds up. It's I can't speak highly enough about what that does for every angler.
Well, and I'll add on to it too. Like usually when you have exceptional durability in a bait, you lose action. In a lot of swim baits excel at certain times of year, right? Like, and I'm not going to name drop. Some are really good in cold water because they're so soft and they kick really well. And then there's other ones that are more durable, but they won't work until the water hits 55 degrees. I have caught fish from 36 degrees to 70 degrees on the Prodigy because that tail kicks the same no matter if the water is ice cold or smoking hot. It still kicks and performs exactly the same.
Yep. And I mean, I can throw it on an 1/8 ounce screw head where I'm like creeping it like a stinking mayfly hair jig, or I can freaking throw it out on a bait caster on a 1/2 ounce head and burn the snot out of it.
And it never rolls. It comes straight. It's perfect.
And you don't really get that ever.
No.
And one thing that's cool, after I was looking back at the underwater footage, looking at the literal underwater footage, 1080, 240, like slowed down, looking at the slow-mo version of this tail, is that it's not so one thing we always talk about with the OG is the non-mechanical random action of it. So with the topwater bait, so aside from Prodigy, topwater bait, non-mechanical random action. This thing will go, you can hit it and it's going to go a little bit of everything. It's not your standard walking bait doing the same thing over and over and over again. So the Prodigy coincidentally does the same thing. So when that tail is going left to right, sometimes it'll go left, left, right, left, left, right, 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 left. Like it does a little bit of everything, but still that bait, no matter if you're burning it or whatever you're doing, it's still just a slight rock. You can absolutely burn it and it's just going to slight rock. It doesn't matter. Like you can, and that's when like testing with some of our bigger sizes, we're finding out like even like some of the bigger sizes, it still stays straight. And it's just
it's crazy. Mick did a really good job designing that bait.
Yeah, and I'll take it one step further. Is a lot of times with swim baits, you can only get that subtle rock when you put fish in on a ball head. Yeah. With that Prodigy, you can still get that shimmy and rock out of it on a football head up to 3/8 ounce.
No, that's that drop shot that I was throwing. Like,
and you can feel it as you're dragging. You can almost feel it in the line. That keel rock.
The crazy part about this bait, my favorite thing about this Prodigy was when we were testing it. I was a big fan down south on Lanier, like throwing spy baits a lot, the Duo Realis, Spin Bait 80, all that stuff in the listing. But then once I learned about throwing like Oka shear heads and stuff like that, I just went that direction because you're dealing with one single hook, dude, and you're not sitting there dealing with small trebles. So I started using like Oka shear heads. Vite makes a tungsten little spin head. And what I realized, we had a few other baits in the water. We were just dragging them like what we were doing. We were filming, Clint, and we were watching this bait list. And you didn't have to have that screw head to get that rock out of the body where you needed that with some of the other ones. You needed that little screw. That's what really gave it that list back and forth. So that to me was my favorite part about that, And, when we first started testing it, we were testing it in the winter in Tennessee and North Carolina. So this thing was getting crawled super, super slow. And then what are we in now? When we're about, I'm so tired today. We're about what? June? We're June right now, June, July. And we're still catching fish on it, which is pretty awesome.
You don't get a swim bait that performs in every water temperature, basically like bracket, right? Like the Prodigy does. And the best part is it comes in a clamshell.
Yeah, so, you like that.
I love clamshelled swim baits.
We actually, you guys will see, we did some new packaging. It's clamshell packaging, but the blueback herring and the gypsy will be in some new packaging this go around.
Sweet. So. Can't wait to get my hands on more.
Fair. They're coming your way. So what's your question? What's your secret question?
Oh, so all right, we got the four of us here. Joe's already answered it before. So Clint and Ryan, you can do it. You got to do it separately, but it's each your own dinner party, and you get to invite 3 people before Christ, after Christ, whenever, no matter what time period, fishing, non-fishing sports. Who are the 3 people you're inviting to your dinner to drink a steak and a beer with, and why?
Yeah, drink that steak,
Drink
baby.
Steak.
Did I say drink your steak and
Yeah,
beer? Eat your steak and drink a beer. It's been a long day for this Friday morning.
And we're not done.
Ryan's first. Oh, no. Ryan's first.
I'm first? Okay.
Yeah.
My girl, definitely. She's been my biggest inspiration and the whole reason I'm sitting here having this conversation with you about cast. So, and she likes steak. So I definitely should be number one. The second would be Mick Guthrie, because I'm still dying to get that dude back over here from Australia. He's dying to get over here. We're just dealing with visa stuff. He went to Sudan a couple of years ago and filmed some fly fishing on Sudan, and that is stopping him from getting an expedited visa. So definitely Mick Guthrie would be number two. And then number three, let me think for a second here. It might be my boy Eddie, just so I can have somebody wear me out the whole entire time. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't Joe or Clint, I have to have the mix, you know? So that would be my three.
Clint, Kent.
Right, let's see. I kind of want to go a little more philosophical with this, you know?
Get a little
dude, don't be afraid. Yeah, get
a little
creative.
Stoic. I like it.
I want to dive into some people that's like, dude, if I had one chance to talk to those people, like no offense to Ryan with Mick and Eddie, but like I could talk to those guys if this is a chance to talk to somebody that's not here or however. Let's see. Not to get too deep into it, but I probably have my dad, because my dad passed when I was 10 years old. So I'd love to have him around the round table and actually be able to talk fishing with my dad when I actually understand fishing. Yeah. So that'd be pretty cool. And then let's see, who else would be really cool to talk to? It's
loaded. And this is how I know you guys don't listen to the podcast.
I know
this is coming, so you get like double whammied.
Exactly. Great. Who else would I want at the table? I'm a big Brandon Polnick fan. I gotta throw him in there because he's cool. You know, he's a cool guy. He'd have some cool conversation to talk about. I feel like. And then a third one, I need something super random. Damn, this is a tough question.
That's the point.
Having to narrow it down.
That's the hardest part.
Steven Spielberg.
Nice.
Makes a pretty cool film.
Nice.
Learn something about.
I like the videography, the film.
Yeah.
Tie in there. That's good.
So,
that's real good.
So mine was Toshinara Namiki, who is the lure designer for OSP. It was Zaldizzi, because he's such a good one.
Been a great one.
Well, and he's like hyper like me, and he's like just loves to teach and talk and like geek.
That's true.
And then Pete Mena, because I figured we needed a non-bass guy, but I still like to talk fishing. Hair. Yeah, so I figured he's wild, and if anybody's gonna drink too much, I mean, I don't know if he drinks or not, but I was like, well, if anybody's gonna get wild on beers, like maybe it'll be Pete, and it'll like keep it light and fluffy, you know.
I like it.
Good stuff, guys. That's good. So thank you for your taking the time here to record with me, so the folks listening on this fine Friday morning.
I appreciate all of y'all.
Thank
you so much, and we will be back. I mean, you pretty much ruined us, so this is a every year trip moving forward for sure.
So the next time that you want to come is the end of September through like middle of October.
All right,
that's like our next stable weather pattern.
All right,
that time of year. And like we can do some Finger Lake stuff. You can get the top water on Finger Lakes. Then we have my end of Lake Ontario where the A-rig bike just explodes.
Cool. Now that'd be fun. That'd be awesome.
And then I have a shallow Niagara River, upper Niagara River bite. And then we can go out deep to where we caught them literally last week and re-catch them out there again.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you boys got it good. You got it good.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have to make it all here. We can go wherever. I don't care. Yeah. So, but if you want to get top water footage, that's the time to come and fish the Finger Lakes.
That'd be sweet.
So, all right, man. I appreciate y'all.
Well, thank you guys. And
appreciate you, fellas.
Yeah. And everybody who tuned in and listened to this, real quick, if you're on like Apple or Spotify, please hit the review button and leave us a review. We appreciate that. And then look forward to seeing everyone on Tuesday Night Live. I think we have a fantasy show coming next week, so it'll be a good time.
Follow Cast Fishing. Go check out Cast Mag on YouTube, guys.
Yes.
All right. Appreciate that.
Andy, thank you, buddy.
Yeah,
my pleasure, guys. Yep. We'll see you all. Yeah, we'll see you all soon.